Hi, everybody. I'm Whitney Patterson. I'm the Executive Director of Pave East Texas. We are a regional nonprofit organization based out of East Texas, just 2 hours east of here. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our organization in a second. But presenting with me today is Cody Evans, our Director of GED Services, who you'll see in a minute, and Alan Dale with Aztec. So we're so excited to be here with you this afternoon. The clicker won't work again, Cody. So Pave East Texas, as I said, we are a nonprofit organization founded in 1990. We have grown and expanded quite a bit over time. Our name actually was Literacy Council of Tyler up until July of last year. We totally rebranded and renamed ourselves after like a year-long process. So today we are in 6 counties, and last year we were in 14 locations, just over 2,100 adult students last year. And right now we have 47 staff and about 130 volunteers will work with us through the course of this year. We are a grantee under Texas Workforce Commission, AEL. We are the lead grantee and consortium lead for a 14-county region. So not only do we have our local program, but we have sub-recipient programs that cover those other counties. So we are a nonprofit structure, so we don't just have the TWC AEL grant, we privately fundraise. And right now about 65 to 70% of our local budget is through the grant, and then the rest is private fundraising. So everything from individual donors, foundations, we have an annual fundraising event and all kinds of things. So we're a little different, and we got a lot of different programs that are funded a lot of different ways. So a little about us. These are all of our programs that we run locally. Again, this is just Pave East Texas, our local programs, not our consortium programs. And you can see, I mean, of course, we started out 35 years ago with adult basic lit, GED prep, and then started adding and adding and adding. And now we have really moved into career pathways, college prep, workforce development, like many of you probably have as well. We have a family literacy program that we're really proud of. I could go on forever about it, but I won't, because that's not what today is about. But we're one of just a handful of programs in the state of Texas that has a family learning center that's partnered with our community college. It's a learning lab environment. And while the kiddos are in a credentialed daycare, their parents are learning with us, and we pay the tuition for the daycare. So we've got a lot of great programs outside of the norm, and that's also the case with our GED programs. We have done a lot of different and new things, even just in the past few years. So today we're going to talk through all of the different parts of our GED program, just to give you some context. And then Cody is going to walk you through really specifics of our enrollment process, orientation, and what we call Course 1, which is the first 12 hours of a student's experience with us. Student placement, how we define student success. Then we're going to talk in depth about GED in Spanish and how we utilize Aztec, and how we transition our GED students to college and career. We're going to try to get through all of this in an hour, so bear with us. So we're going to give you an overview of our GED program, all the different things that we do to help our students be successful. In the past 3 years, we have really seen a ton of growth in Northeast Texas in our GED enrollments. There's a lot of reasons for this, but we know that our region is growing very rapidly. It's one of the most rapid growing areas of Texas. We are based out of Tyler. I don't know if you've heard of Tyler, but for whatever reason, it just made like top mid-sized city to live in the US. And so people are moving into our region from all over the world, and we're really seeing that now. We also have seen a huge uptick in interest in our program since we renamed and rebranded last summer. And a huge reason for that is because we budgeted for paid advertising, which we had never done before. So our GED enrollments have been maxed out, and we enroll every other week year round. And it's been kind of crazy. But so then you're getting people in, and then what do you do with all of them, right? So we've really been trying to work through all of that, and it's caused a lot of great conversation and growth within our teams. But just in the past couple of years, we have started offering some different options for GED students that we hadn't before. One of those is GED in Spanish. And we are moving into more of a fast track mindset with our ASE students, and Cody will talk in detail about that. Are there any questions about our organization or our programs before I move on? Thank you. Okay, and then we just wanted to give you some numbers, and I know I don't have the totals on here, but since 2022, we have seen quite a bit of progress with student success. Our overall GED enrollments, and by that I mean the students who reach 12 hours, have not increased as significantly, as of right now. So in 2022-2023 program year, 242 of our students for the whole year completed one GED test. This year, as of last week, we're already at 277. So we're constantly trying to get those numbers up. Like we're always looking at who has one test left, two tests, all of that. And then this year, our goal is to get 170 GED completes. And right now, as of last week, we're at 116. And Cody likes to joke that I keep pushing the goal up because it's my favorite thing to do. So, so for GED, for our local programs, this year, well, to date this year, do you have that? I'll have to pull it up. I don't know why I didn't put it on this slide, but that's a great question. It's around 500, but it's grown a little bit year over year. But it's hard for me because I've got my consortium numbers and then all the counties. So, okay. We've got several different branches of our GED program and the way that we kind of structure everything. And this is all determined upon enrollment and in our orientation in course 1, adult basic literacy, ABE, ASE, and fast track. And we can kind of go into detail on all the specialized services. And again, a lot of these have just been added or tweaked in the past couple of years, and we're constantly tweaking them and reworking them. And Cody is going to share in much more detail about specialized services.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So our main staples were basic lit, adult basic education, adult secondary education, and then fast track. From those, we've started branching out a little bit more. Since 2022, we've started implementing GED in Spanish, which we've got, I'll share with you the changes over the past few years with that and kind of how we've arrived at where we've arrived. Remote learning since COVID, tutoring, which we have always implemented, but is kind of now reserved for basic lit and people that are nearing GED completion. Our computer lab and how we use that to fill specific roles throughout the organization and in the GED program. Mac Math Call Center and Math Boot Camp. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into these a little bit. So our one-on-one tutoring is, like I said, split between basic literacy, which is anybody coming in low level, needing foundational skills. We reserve volunteers for those individuals. In fact, we just placed a couple this past week. We run them through just a standard low-level basic lit test. It's usually picture-based, and depending on where they land there, we pair them with a volunteer, and they kind of get to decide their schedule on that. We also reserve this for anybody that is nearing GED completion, but they're just struggling to get over that last section, usually math. Again, we pair them up with a tutor, usually based on their schedule, and they're off to the races, and we will check in. Again, at that point, they've tested high enough that the only MSG that we're going to need, the only skill gain we're going to need is going to be GED completion. So we're just sending them in with the math tutor and checking in periodically, maybe with practice tests to see if they're ready to go. The computer lab. So computer lab is for individuals that would not benefit from a class setting or tutoring. I've run into issues with students that they just don't work well with maybe the tutors that we have currently, or they don't work well in a group setting, like a classroom. So we send them into the computer lab and we kind of pair them off into self-driven lessons. This could be practice tests for GED. This could be working through Essential Ed, or maybe even working on Aztec. This is also anybody that falls between ASE and Fast Track. We'll talk about what those two kind of mean here in a little bit, but anybody that falls where they're very close to completing their GED probably won't need to go into a classroom setting, but they will need something more than just like a self-paced tool. They need somebody there to keep an eye on them. Maybe they got questions. We'll place them into the computer lab. Remote learning, and we've kind of redefined this a little bit, but this is for individuals due to whatever constraints in their life, they can't make it to in-person classes. We place them into remote learning. Now, when I came in as GED director back in 2022, this was a struggle because coming out of COVID, people would get placed into remote learning. We would never see them again. Maybe they would fall off. Maybe they would log in just enough to stay in their period of participation, whatever. But we've started implementing contracts to this. Students have to come in at a specific level. Usually NRS level 4 or higher, we place them into RL. Anything lower than that, we're probably going to have a discussion about a tutor or a volunteer maybe that can work with their schedule. But usually I've noticed placing people in that are still in an ABE level or lower doesn't really work well with remote learning. So in that contract, they have to promise us, they have working technology, they have consistent access to internet. They will come in once a month to talk to us, whoever their point person is for remote learning, talk to them about progress testing, updates on what their goals are, things like that. And then promising us periodically at 40 hours or 90 days, coming in for a progress test for sure. And then just also staying in constant communication via remind or phone calls, messages from their coordinator. Let's keep going. GED in Spanish. So we will look at GED in Spanish a little bit coming up, but GED in Spanish is specifically what it sounds like. We are teaching GED for Spanish speakers or people that want to just take the test in Spanish only because they feel like they will get through in their native language a lot faster. And again, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that in a little bit. And then Math Boot Camp, which kind of ties into our Math Call Center. But Math Boot Camp is once every 6 months, usually towards the end of usually in November. Right now it's in April in the spring, but we do a winter, we do a spring, math focused only. Because majority of students can pass all the tests except they struggle with math at the end. So what we do, yes ma'am. Yeah. Okay, so what I've done with Math Boot Camp, and we just started our Math Boot Camp for the spring, literally last Tuesday. So we have ASE classes in the morning and the evening. So first off, I look at where our majority are. Which classes have the majority of one test left, math only. From there, I start gathering volunteers. So our classes run 2 days a week, 3 hours per session, okay? So for the math boot camps, I need 2 hours out of each session and we go 4 weeks. So from now, this week, and then 2 more, these guys are running through math boot camp. Now, so I like to look at things as a holistic approach too. So looking at all these people, so I take their reports from practice test, official test, things that tell me they've either hit likely to pass, blown it out of the water, or just shy. Anybody that hits the range between 147 and 143, I put into the math boot camp with a promise of 2 weeks. okay? So 2 weeks, they got to give me a math boot camp. Anybody 143 lower with math only left, they got to go all 4 weeks. And then what I do with that also is I look at the top 8 to 10 overlapping lessons that everybody needs. But when they go into math boot camp, the volunteers or tutors we have, which in coordination with maybe right now I've got guys from our computer lab helping out, also the teacher, they sit down and they work with those students specifically on those lessons. Now, if a student comes in and they're like, oh, I've been working on algebra at home, I don't need that, then okay, this is the next thing you need. We'll break you out, send you to the lab, put you on essential ed, give you worksheets, something like that. But the idea is at the math boot camps, they come 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on their level. And then everything that they are presented with is specified to their goals. We try to break out and ignore anything else that they don't need. Now, the other thing to this is that our classes are 3 hours. Math boot camp only runs for 2. That last hour of the day, they return to class or return to their teacher, and they discuss strategies before the next class. They discuss if they need to maybe go ahead and practice test. Maybe they've been in it for 2 weeks and they've shown growth. So math boot camps, 2 to 4 weeks, 2 hours out of the 3 hours they're promised for class, and everything designed to specify to what they need. So let's talk enrollment orientation in course 1. So currently, anybody that calls in, or maybe we get referrals through connections of GED.com, or we have anybody that emails our interest through the website. So we get these folks, students' expectations at first contact. So we reach out to them or they reach out to us, and we immediately get the ball rolling with starting the file process. We've moved into in the past year using my OneFlow, which is our new file management system. But from the jump, we're getting students to process all their paperwork before they come in. This was a struggle, but again, I think so I started pressuring staff, I think it was in December, just the week before an enrollment, which we enroll every 2 weeks. So that Friday, or that Tuesday that we enroll, reach out to your list of people that aren't complete, just ask them, just check in with them. And most times, students will sit on the phone and they will walk through that information. I think our last enrollment, we had 25 people, 28 people, more than 70% were paperwork complete walking in the door. All we had to do was a quick interview with them, then we put them in a presentation, and then they were ready to test. So communicating with the student back and forth and just trying to expedite the process of getting them in. At enrollment, if they've not completed paperwork, we complete paperwork with them, introduce them to the program through a quick presentation, do an interview, our Pearl interview, which is just for federal reporting, and then we throw them into CASAS testing, math and reading. After that, that is that Tuesday, we have our orientation, which is literally the next day. These folks come in. Going back to our enrollment, we do a morning and an evening, 9 to 12 or 6 to 9. Orientation is the same time. So if they enrolled in the morning from 9 to 12, they come in that Wednesday and they do orientation 9 to 12. At the orientation, they review assessments. They talk about class placement. They talk about goal setting. With the class placement, we already know where they're needing to go before they come to orientation. Based on their reading scores, which is what we use to assess what class they're going into, ASE level reading or ABE level reading, that tells us if they're going into upper level orientation or lower level orientation. But it's all the same. We're introducing them to the program. We're getting them started on Remind. We're talking to them about what their goals are. If they are upper level, maybe we're giving practice tests already. If they were lower level, maybe we're getting them started on essential ed. But we're already getting them to work at the orientation where we're introducing them to the program. And this is our first of our the first 3 hours of our 12 to make them state participants. Yes. CASAS goals. And we'll look at the levels. I think I got it coming up in a couple slides, but we'll look at how we've broken out the levels too. So that is the Wednesday following enrollment. So Tuesday, Wednesday, they come to the lab to knock out the rest of their hours to make them a participant before we place them into class. Now, this got tweaked too. And we're constantly kind of changing things. Again, I like a holistic view for a student. So we had standardized everything as being 12 hours, and then you're placed into class. Well, for adult basic education, again, your lower level guys, you put them into the computer lab for 12 hours, they may get to 8, they may get to 9, but they lose motivation pretty quickly. So with those folks, give us one more day, maybe 2, then we place you. So we reduce time on that to about 6 hours. So our first 3, they come to the lab one more time the following week, we'll place them into class. ASE, our upper level guys, we reduced it by 3 hours. So now they just gotta come for orientation 2 more times, and then we place them into class. So now they're no longer becoming participants before class placement, but the struggle was before, waiting for them to become participants, we were losing them. It's just throwing folks in the lab and not getting them where they want to be, or they don't feel like they're going where they need to be. And then course 1, this is that time in the lab, the 6 to 9 hours. Digital literacy class, practice work and distance learning platform, establishing a routine, giving these folks a structure so that they can kind of get used to coming regularly 2 times a week, 3 hours each time. And then we're always connecting them with program and staff. They get familiar with our guys in the computer lab. They get familiar with me, everybody else on staff. Any questions? Okay. So class placement. This is again based on enrollment, and we test in CASAS goals. So we always look at the reading, and that dictates where we're going to place them in one of the 4 areas. Again, basic lit, ABE, ASC, or fast track. So this is determined after enrollment, but it's always adjusted. Again, looking at these folks holistically. So if you come in and you blow it out of the water on the reading test, but then I sit down with you and you are struggling quite a bit on writing, maybe we adjust. Maybe we place you in ABE and not ASC. Okay? And then strategies, and we'll look at this on our graph here in a little bit, but overlapping the different branches kind of gets us to have a little wiggle room with how we're placing people. And it allows us to set specific goals with students to identify their progress towards their GED. So does anybody else here use CASAS goals for testing? Okay. So CASAS goals, and this is kind of their chart that we've created this color-coded chart. We have it up in all the classrooms and everything. As soon as you give a student an assessment, they're going to want to know what they scored, where they land. So every classroom, computer lab, enrollment room, even in my office, these are everywhere. You got a question about where you stand, we talk to you about this graph. So 6 levels, and again, we've got grade levels, but most of the time we're looking at these NRS scores here that dictate what their level is towards GED. So we're gonna look at basic lit first. So that's our level 1, K1, kind of maybe into 2nd grade level. Again, might fluctuate. You might not know specifically somebody's needs until you sit down and you're talking with them. But anybody here in basic lit, one-on-one tutoring, they're going to be working with a volunteer to build their foundational skills. And again, hopefully we're identifying these individuals at enrollment. Most times we are. The young lady we caught last week, I sat down with her to implement the CASAS test on iPad. I don't want to do this. Okay, why? I can't read. I couldn't read in my native language. I can't read in English. Cool. I'm gonna get everybody set up and I'm gonna come back to you. Went back with her, we talked in the hall. Can you give me something else? I just want to pick up reading skills. We talked it out. She came in the next day in the morning and we gave her a basic lit test to identify where she stood, matched her with the volunteer, and she started with that volunteer this week. The next up from there is our ABE, and that's anybody in the orange going up to the green. Again, it kind of depends, but these folks, they are needing up through usually middle school skills. Usually they're topping out on math like fractions, ratios, percents. They're not getting into algebra and stuff like that. So with these folks, they move into our adult basic education classes. And again, these classes are taught using reading and math together to build up those skills to hopefully move them into the ASE class. And then the ASE is our upper level. So these folks so let's talk fast track too. So fast track is anybody that we test. Maybe they're already partially complete, maybe they haven't started, but I sit them down on that CASAS test. On math, they're getting 240s. Maybe on reading, they get like a 247. Anybody high blue or purple, we're gonna go ahead and when they go to orientation, instead of essential ed, we're gonna start putting them on practice tests. Get them through as fast as possible. So that by the time they hit their 12 hours to become a state participant, hopefully they are already on their last test and they are out the door by the time they've moved past 12 hours. So ASE, kind of in this range, is for anybody that's probably not gonna be complete in 12 hours and probably is hitting, maybe they struggle with math or they're struggling with reading. So we're gonna put them into the classroom setting that's upper level, and we're gonna move them through, and hopefully, in a short time, maybe after progress tests, we're gonna go ahead and start giving practice tests to them. Questions on the chart? Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So this is from the jump. This is day one when they sit down with us. We tell them what this chart's for. We tell them this is neither good nor bad. This is used to diagnose them. And our goal is to get them here. And once we get them there, that's when we start throwing free vouchers at you. Okay. So with us from the jump, we're telling them the chart's there, but that's just step one towards the GED. And again, for especially these guys, when you explain the chart and you're like, hey, if you score up here, well, then we're going to probably give you practice tests as soon as you come back to us. So give me this, and in exchange, I will give you vouchers, and I will get you tested. Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our youth, I had a couple of, their brother and sister, but they came in a couple of weeks ago, right before spring break, and they were both blue, purple, and these folks were, I think he was 20, she was 18, but a lot of our youth, 25 and under, when they come in and test, majority are testing upper level. Where you're finding, and this has kind of been consistent, where you're finding your lower levels, it's usually, I mean, your older adults that are coming back to education after a long pause, or anybody that's struggling because maybe when they were in K through 12 education, they were placed in a certain class, or they were placed in a specific level. But the majority I get from up here are probably my youth guys. Yes, sir. Yep. Yes. So if they're wanting to come to us for vouchers, first we're going to try to work them through every. we provide for them GED vouchers first. We got to go through each practice test voucher. Now, practice tests take a while, but if they get through that, maybe before 12 hours, they're clocking 1 to 2 official tests, but they're going to have to keep coming back to complete their tests with us. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I can't really. Yeah, but I would prefer that because then I'm only spending practice test vouchers out of private funding for them. So I'm fine with that. But the majority of folks we have that come through, once they're shown these scores, and I've had folks that come in, I've had, again, back in the fall, I had 2 people come in and test purple. Hey, we'll give you free practice test vouchers once you come back in for orientation. No, they never saw them again. The GED test vouchers will be coming from TWC. Yep. So a lot of our practice test vouchers are private funding, but our official test vouchers are split between TWC and private. Any more questions as far as chart placement? So student success, and this is discussed again at enrollment. This is their promise to us for attendance. So when students come in, we talk to them about communication, how necessary it is for them to stay in communication with us, and also for us to be able to communicate with them. This could be a phone call, but most times things are coming through Remind. We get people linked up on the Remind app. That way we can mass text, we can one-off text, but nobody's getting bothered as far as staff or student if they don't want to be. So the other part of that is our student success policy, our attendance policy. So each student, when they come in, signs our attendance policy. A student has to be present in our class 75% of the time. Again, 2 3-hour classes, 4 weeks. That's going to be what, 3, 6, 9, 12, 24, come 18 hours. So average 18 hours for me per month. The first month they don't do that and they slip. We send a warning letter. Now, this is just VML. Hey, you weren't in class the necessary time, you failed the attendance policy. Love to get you back. If you're facing any barriers, please come back to us and we can discuss anything that may help you progress towards your goal of GED. If again they fail, and this is 2 months in a row, if they go 2 months in a row failing attendance policy, we pull them from class. We place them into what is called student success on our roster, and now they are doing independent work in the computer lab. Pick up your time and we'll place you back into class. Now, during that time, they are also meeting with advisement to discuss barriers. Students struggle with transportation. Maybe it's work. Maybe it's childcare. Maybe they're an ASE student and now they're out of a job. Well, maybe it'd be best to put them into remote learning. So this is used to identify what they need to get them to pick their time back up. Again, support services. And then we train staff with retention strategies. All of our staff are able to call, track, move people around, but identify people's needs. So retaining these students, and again, they are signing this at enrollment. Yep. Okay, first one is about 20 desktop PCs. We have a stack of laptops that's about, I would say 15 to 20 laptops. We have the potential to open up an overflow lab if needed using those laptops. What was the second one? So this is happening all at our TJC West campus, which we operate out of. Now, if it's a student that is coming to enroll that wants to do maybe classes in one of our satellites, they would come to us for the first little while to get those 12 hours, and then we would place out into the offsites. But usually all this is happening at our location. So volunteers, we get from a number of different ways. We have them coming in through the website. We have our volunteer coordinator going out into the community to kind of round people up at event fairs, going through meet and greets. We have some volunteers that are spouses from the board and things like that. So our volunteers can come from kind of anywhere. Tracking attendance hours is done through our file management system, which is now my OneFlow. We, at the end of every day, we have our staff, my admin staff, put in attendance hours for remote learning sessions that have occurred, morning attendance or evening attendance, and those are being updated on a regular basis, then being turned into our data entry who double check those. Okay, so I got one main guy in my computer lab with a support who also acts as proctor. I've got myself as GED director. I've got my remote learning coordinator who is also my ASE and ABE teacher. I've got my GED admin that helps me out, that also coordinates with GED Spanish. And then my volunteer coordinator still works in our area, but he will be branching off to another spot soon. And then we got about 2 teachers included after that. So, brother, I hate this one. So the testing center is Thursdays and Fridays only. Frustrates me, but we've decided to do a proctor room. We did our proctor room starting in about 2 years ago. So, and we try to push for anything but math being done in the proctor room, but our proctor room is Monday through Friday, and folks can show up anytime within our hours. I have had some folks do math in the proctor room, but being that you kind of got to stay in frame and all that, it's kind of tricky. But yeah, our testing center at our location is Thursday, Friday, proctor room, and then if need be, we can send them to other locations in cities nearby if it's necessary. Yeah. His name is Jacob. Jacob, and this was kind of a role that 4 years ago, I was kind of doing this. We realized that this was an issue, that students would have these barriers and there was nobody there to kind of help them out towards them. So a lot of these strategies are just in coordination with other organizations in and around our town in Tyler. So struggles with transportation, housing, work, childcare, medical care, whatever it is. He's in communication with these other organizations, and we refer to him. He talks to the student, and he gets them connected. Anything else? So let's talk GED Spanish. So GED Spanish started back in 2021, 2022 school year. So this started kind of small. So students were learning English, and this was just added as a class in addition to that. ABE ASE level, 2 days a week for a total of 3 hours. That's for the whole week. So about an hour-and-a-half class, 2 days a week. Limited knowledge on the GED and Spanish test, limited on instructional and student resources. And we had 2 teachers that were also ESL teachers that kind of broke out and did GED and Spanish. Out of that whole year, we had 5 tests pass, or 1 test pass. We had no completes. But again, this was kind of our pilot year starting this thing off. The next year, this was transitioned over to the GED department. Now, for a long time with this, because of tracking measurable skills gains and making sure progress occurred, these students, we had nowhere to do this except for having them be ESL. So all of our students from this were coming over from ESL. We placed them in that class, but they were doing ESL in addition to, and it was usually remote. but they would come to in-person GED and Spanish class, and they would do ESL remote to work them towards progress test gains. So year two, 2022, 2023, again, ESL referrals, we lengthened the time, still had 2 teachers, and we split along a math track and an RLA track. So now we took whichever was highest, and we placed that student in that appropriate class. Instructors gained more experience on the GED and Spanish test, and we started implementing Aztec as far as a GED curriculum in Spanish in the classroom. That year, we saw 1 test passed, was 13, and then 4 GED completes that year. And again, we kicked up the time to about 3 hours, 2 days a week. Last year, students were in ESL and had to access Burlington or do classwork. Again, RLA and math specific classes. We implemented GED and Spanish prep books from Aztec along with online curriculum. And teachers were able to differentiate instruction a little bit better. But last year we had 1 test pass 14, and then GED completes 4. And then this year we changed it up quite a bit. The student's goal is to get their GED. So what we did starting this year was we no longer implemented it as being, you gotta be ESL to be GED in Spanish. If you want GED in Spanish, come on in. And we started opening this up to anybody cold off the street. If they want a GED in Spanish, come enroll. We do our standard paperwork just like we've done before with anybody else, except now their baseline test is no longer cost us goals. We're giving them RLA and math practice test in Spanish on GED.com when they come in. Now, this is a little bit stranger too. Our normal GED or our regular GED enrollments in English occur every 2 weeks. For now, we're piloting the GED in Spanish to happen every 90 days. So anybody that comes in, we had our last one at the end of February. Anybody that came in, we're gonna start tracking from that day. We're not gonna have our next one until 90 days after that. Now, anybody that comes in for GED in Spanish is gonna fall into 3 buckets. One is fast track. Again, these are folks that we give them practice tests, they blow it out of the water. We're assigning practice tests to get them to 12 hours, and then trying to get them GED complete without moving them into class. Anybody that's ASE level, we're gonna move right into class and start tracking them that way. But we had a few that came in and tested, and I'm talking 116, 120. We referred to ESL, but we referred to ESL with the promise that at the next 90-day enrollment, they come back. And we assign them work. We give them stuff to work on. We give them curriculum, maybe printed out, but they are working on their skills. In 90 days, hopefully I see them at that next GED in Spanish enrollment, and we try it again. Okay. So, so far this year, we've had 1 test pass 15, and we've had 4 GED completes. I think we may have 1 more of that, but 4 GED completes so far. Any questions on GED in Spanish so far? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we used to use for GED in Spanish when they came in to enroll. We would give them the practice test on Aztec. And again, these were referrals coming to us from ESL, but we would run them through the practice test, and if they hit 60%, they would essentially enroll into GED Spanish, and we'd start them in the class. Because getting advertising as a GED, I feel advertising as a GED prep for GED in Spanish, people want to see that progress. And so I offer them a voucher. And again, $6 voucher on the CASA's goals. On the CASA's goals, those are about $350 for those since we're doing them on iPad. So it's a toss up. Or I'm sorry, you're talking about Aztec. Yeah, so just offering them GED vouchers, since again, their goal is GED, getting them towards GED attainment right when they come in. Yeah. So what does it look like as far as placement? So again, enrollment events occur every 90 days. GED practice tests in math and reading, fast track. Again, we just kind of went through all this. Our placement, 145 or higher, I'm calling fast track on a practice test. 135 to 144, they're moving into class. And then 134 or lower is ESL and tutoring. Again, one-on-one tutoring. We're working to try to find Spanish-speaking tutors right now. We've got Luis, who's my man. He's doing great. Math assistance call center. And then we just started implementing a math boot camp. This started, again, literally last week, and it was kind of off to the races. But math boot camp, now specifically in Spanish, in the evenings for 2 hours, the same goal, the same placement, all that. Yes, sir. Yes. Now, it still kind of comes out the same. We pulled these numbers, myself and my administrator, and this is from GED.com as far as what are the equivalencies. So. Okay. So I'm going to get Mr. Allendale up here, and he's going to talk to you about Aztec. Does anybody have any questions before I pass the mic over?
Thank you, Cody. And I'll try not to blow you guys out, but I'm not very good at speaking to a screen. So I'm used to walking and talking as I do this. But a couple things about Aztec, and I'm going to say this about the program, because I've been able to be their field service representative through all of those changes that they've made and talked about. I think one of the most powerful things that they did was when they changed it from Literacy Council of Tyler to PAVE. You say, why does that make, why is that the deal? Oftentimes, whenever students come to us, when they hear the word literacy, they all think they're above it. I want you to think about that for just a minute. It doesn't really matter what level that you're at. Everybody thinks they're higher than where they are, and they don't want to be put in a group as literacy. So I think it really has helped, and I think that's part of the reason that they've seen the growth that they've seen. When you rebrand it, now then it's not literacy for those people that don't know anything. Now then we've got an educational school here that can help me. And I think that's really, I know this had nothing to do with Aztec, but I think that that's just seeing them and working their program. I think that's really made a huge difference with them. Well, a couple of things here I want to point out to you just so that everybody's aware. Aztec is the only preferred partner of GED. I know there's other products out there, but if you go to the GED session, you're going to hear them say the same thing. They've gone through all of the curriculum, and Aztec is the one that they said this one best aligns to get the student to their educational goals, to get them to pass that GED. And so that's pretty much what we have here. And I do want to point one other thing out, and that's up in the top corner up here at the right. And this was written by Spanish instructors. It's not just a translation. In a lot of programs that you get into, they translate it into from English into Spanish, and oftentimes you can lose the context of what's going on there. But everything that we did in Aztec literally was to come in and rewrite the entire curriculum by Spanish instructors so that we are communicating the right thing. Now, I was in a session earlier today, and this was for Aztec, and this was one that came up. What Spanish do you translate into? Okay, y'all follow what I'm getting at, because there's all different dialects. So we take what they consider whenever we're doing print material and all that sort of thing. They take what is considered the world acceptance of Spanish. So you may have some folks that's not completely the Spanish that they speak, but it is the most common source of Spanish that is spoken. And so that's typically how we translate that. So I'm throwing that out there because you may have a student come in and go, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, and it has to do with the different dialect or maybe a different region from which the students are from. But, you know, it's kind of like everything else. You can't make everybody happy all the time, but hopefully, you know, we can actually, you know, hit that center ground there so that we can have the students be successful. You brought up just a minute ago, and I did want to point this out with the GED. Aztec also now has what we consider a locator test. Now, these guys have their own plan on how they do it, but I want you guys to realize that locator test, it is a Spanish test, and it will tell you whatever level that the student is at. Okay? And I'm talking about, it'll go all the way down to you know, the kindergarten level, but it'll let you see the placement of that student. I got one program in Oklahoma. They're actually the program that I used to work for. They don't even use the Aztec in Spanish, but you know what they use? They use our locator test because all of their classes are in person, they then utilize that in order to help place the students in the in-person classes. What does it do? It eliminates the language barrier. Now we're actually being able to see true academic levels without the language barrier. And I think that's the key to it whenever we're talking about being able to place our students so that we can help them find success. It's one thing to have the GED program in Spanish, but if all of our students aren't at that level, then what do? That test lets us be able to identify that. Whenever you do purchase a GED Spanish with Aztec, that comes with it. So it doesn't cost you anything for that test. And so that can be something that you weave into, you know, your actual, your program. Where you talk about the GED in Spanish, I also wanted to point out that we do now have, this was just released the last couple of years, but we have all levels. So we start off with the GED with Spanish. We now have the pre-GED in Espanol, and then we have the ABE in Espanol. So we have all three levels. So we can go from, like I said, kindergarten level all the way through their GED with Spanish. Most of you, if you've been in adult ed very long, you recognize the word Stegvon. Stegvon has been in the adult industry forever and a day, the adult education industry forever and a day. They've been there for a long time. They're now part of the Aztec family. So what we did was we took that Stegvon material that has been developed into Spanish, but we now also put that as the online platform. So you can get that either way. You can get the print material. You can also get the online version. And I always encourage people, you say, well, this time of year, let's talk about this time of year. We've either got money left over or we ain't got no money at all. We're trying to make it to the end, right? One of the two. If you need this content, buy some print material. It's going to be cheaper than the online stuff. Then whenever you get some money, then you can work on the online stuff. So I'm not a salesman. I just like to throw that out there because I've also been a director and I understand what's going on there. Now, the great thing about this, as far as when we're talking about the online material, and I'm going to just pull up another one here. This is all pretty much our Spanish portfolio of learning. And you can see over here, this lines it out. We have our fundamental skills. That's going to be that ABE in Espanol. Okay. And then we got the next level up is going to be the pre-GED. We jump over here into the Aztec GED prep. And we also have other content area over here that is all in Spanish. So if some of you guys need some additional programming for your Spanish speakers, such as digital literacy, we've got that. These life skill series, we've got that. So why is all this important? It's bringing into the whole for our Spanish community. And I think for a long time, we tried to figure out how to really educate them and how do we move them out of an ESL into an ABE? How do we get them from that literacy level into? So what you don't see up here is we also now have an ESL transitions course. It's designed specifically for that. It's to move those students in from a ESL NRS level 4, 5, and 6 to move them into an ABE program. So that's our product. That's kind of what we've got available, what we do. Now let's talk just a minute. I don't know. Maybe I've got one more slide. Couple things. GED Flash. And I bring up this guy, you say, well, why are you bringing this context up? Why are you bringing up GED Flash? Those of you that don't know what GED Flash is, it's a partnership between Aztec and GED. Your students can go on GED.com and they can purchase GED Flash, or you can purchase it for your students and provide it that way. Same content, same curriculum, partnership between Aztec and GED. You say, why is it important? Because this year we're coming out with GED Flash Spanish. You guys come by the booth, we can give you a demonstration of it, but it works just like the GED Flash in English does. So we've taken that content and now moved it into, or we're moving it into Spanish. So the students are going to have access to GED Flash. Some of you may not know what GED Flash is. It's nothing but GED test questions. How many of us can say, well, we need more practice for our students? And that's really what the GED Flash does. It gives the students that opportunity to practice real life GED type questions. And the great thing is we're moving that into Spanish. And guess which one we're going to release first? Math. You got it. That one's coming out this summer. So it's going to be available for our Spanish group. What I love about Aztec is this. And you guys, if you can't tell, I'll talk to you all day. They give me just a little bit of time. So I'm just like, what? Let's get it out here. What I love about Aztec is this. You can actually turn your students loose on Aztec. You can sign them in. You can have them go and work individually. They can do their thing. They can work on it from that standpoint. However, there is also another component that I think Aztec stands out about everything else, and that is the teacher can actually utilize that as curriculum to teach from. That's what these guys do oftentimes in their classes, in their GED classes and things, that the teacher actually pulls it up and we're utilizing that curriculum and we're actually teaching from that. So it's not just a tool for the student and to go out here and work on their own and hope for the best. The teacher can actually teach the lesson, then the student can go home and work on that same lesson on their own to reinforce what's being taught. So it really does it's made for a great partnership with us. And I'm happy that to be able to come here and share a little bit of picture of what I get to see on the other side and see the successes and what they've had going. So anybody have any questions about that? I'm going to turn this back over to Cody. But if you do have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them, or you guys can stop and see us at the Aztec booth down in the exhibit hall. And I'd love to give you some more information about that. Okay. All right.
All right. So let's jump into a little bit. So I do have some testimonials. Maybe we'll come back to these here in a little bit. But these, again, just like Alan was saying, we've implemented Aztec a number of different ways. Our volunteer up here at the top, this is one that he was saying he uses this with again, one test left. They're struggling to get over that last hump. He sits down and actually runs through GED Flash with these guys. Again, since it's test questions, he kind of uses it to tutor them on how to take a test. Most of the time they're close to the scores, but they're struggling on just test taking skills. So that's how he uses it. And then I've got a few students here, and I think on the next slide that they're loving the access of it. They use it in the classroom. They're used to using it in the classroom, step-by-step concepts, things like that. And then, like Alan was saying, Mario, our teacher, he uses this. He has GED Flash brought up, and he's walking them through the lessons, using it as almost just his lesson plans, but teaching from Aztec. We've got a quick success story. Maybe I'll just throw this up at the end, but figuring out where people, what people want to do after GED. So this is another thing that we have been trying to change and modify a little bit in the past few years. So first off, we have career pathways, which our director of career pathways is here, but we're doing continuous goal setting while a student is with us. If a student shows interest in any of the number of certifications that we offer, once they are GED complete or near GED complete, we start getting them to communicate with either our career pathways coordinator or our director of career pathways and trying to figure out what they want to do. Hopefully we can get the ball rolling with them on getting them into a certification program and getting them going. Sometimes, again, like I said, before they're even complete with the GED, they're already starting on their certification program. Another area that I've been trying to work on is college prep. We are lucky enough to have a junior college in our town that is kind of willing to work with us, but we have, I stay in communication with these guys, and twice a year, May and November usually, before the spring starts up and before they go to summer and the fall starts up, we do a college prep seminar. And anybody that's GED complete, or again, near GED complete, that wants to go to college, I round these guys up, as many as I can, and we go over to our junior college, and I sit down with our TRIO EOC program that works with first generation college students or low income college students, and we walk them through everything. FAFSA, applying for student aid, applying for classes, working out a class schedule. We take them on a tour of the campus and everything, but kind of taking that Band-Aid off pretty quickly and getting them introduced to college. Along with that, in the, what was it, last fall, kind of around the same time that college prep started up, I also rolled out TSI prep. So anybody interested in coming back in, they take the TSI entrance exam, which is our entrance exam into college in the state of Texas. They take it. Oh, they want me to take remedial classes. Bring me the test scores. We'll use the test scores, figure out what curriculum you need to brush up on. They do a self-guided 2 to 4 week brush up. Then they take the test again. And then we also have weekly EOC advising. We have one of the young ladies from the TRIO program that is for first gen college and low income. She comes over, and if we've got a one-off, we got one student, she will meet with that one student. And again, that is one day out of each month, but she'll meet with as many as we can. They'll set up meetings with them. And that is our college prep. And then our last one is our workforce. Throughout the year, we offer workforce lessons in the classroom. We have a partnership with one of our credit unions in Tyler, and they will come out and talk to them about financial skills. I work with teachers at teacher meetings to discuss hard and soft skill lessons or goal setting lessons, something to get them focusing on post-secondary or moving into the workforce. And then our in-house assistants, bless you. I brought up Jacob earlier, who helps with getting our folks past barriers through organizations. Well, he helps them with resume building, job searches through Work in Texas, which is our TWC website, gets them prepped for college readiness, maybe into the college prep seminar, and then score boosting anybody from WIOA. We get referrals from TWC. They want to boost their scores up for the Texas Workforce Commission, maybe for a job placement. They send them to us, we test them, build their skills up, and we send them back. Any questions? Yes, sir. I tell them, so lessons are based on months. I tell them 6 lessons out of the year. So usually what happens is that credit union comes out twice a year, once in fall, once in the spring. I tried to do like resource fairs also from time to time, and maybe once, maybe twice a year. And then everything after that is left to the teachers for them to build out a lesson that's on soft, hard skills, goal setting, college readiness, workforce. And I actually got a curriculum that I built out for that I share with them. If they don't know what to teach, pull a lesson from that. But sometimes I've got teachers that they know what they want to teach from the jump. And also, I have an ongoing schedule that I share with the staff. And for the months that it has a workforce lesson, it's got it on there. It's got an idea on there. But again, if they already know what they want to do, go for it. So as long as they're teaching some sort of skills for those individuals. Yes, sir. So I've got a couple that are part-time, teaching twice a week, one class twice a week. I've got an ASE teacher that is full-time, but she does admin duties. So she teaches an ASC in the evening and an ABE in the morning. And then on those non-teaching days, she does admin duties. And then my GED Spanish, he teaches twice a week. So everybody except that one is part-time. Yeah. Yes. Okay, staff on site. So GED director, myself, I have my GED admin who works with students for communication, getting them scheduled for GED testing, vouchers, some placement, also does work with GED in Spanish. I have Billy is my remote learning coordinator, who is also ABE ASC teacher. She handles remote learning attendance, communicating with students, placement for remote learning, and staying in touch with them, trying to get them in progress testing. I have lab, who is full-time in the lab. Again, class placement, tracking, student success, some advisement, getting people set up on Essential Ed and other online curriculum. His partner in the lab is also our proctor for Costas Goals, who does kind of the same roles as the lab, but we break out for enrollment weeks and he does enrollment. Everybody on my staff can help out with enrollment, getting people registered, doing one-on-one interviews, contacting people, plugging them into resources, all that stuff. So there are a lot of responsibilities that I want everybody trained in, and everybody, the phone rings, they should be able to answer those questions. But then each individual has their kind of broken out specified things. And then aside from that, we got the teachers. Any other questions? All right. I'll just leave you with the success story of Miguel Benito, who is our student 2022-2023 school year. Thank you guys so much. And I think that gets us right there, doesn't it? Yeah. Thank you guys.